Welcome back to the Babble Boys podcast. Join as always with Jeff. Jeff, how we doing?
Doing good, brother. How are you doing?
Pretty good. So in the news, Donald Trump's platinum plan for Black America. Have you heard about this?
Yeah, it's kind of some virtue signaling, in my opinion, going on here.
Uh, I'll agree with that. So we got an article here from Forbes. So more than Juneteenth. What's in Trump's $500 billion platinum plan for Black America? On Friday, President Trump unrolled what he refers to as a platinum plan for Black America, calling for increased investment in Black businesses and additional capital for Black entrepreneurs. The president also announced support for Juneteenth to be recognized as a national holiday. Now, Jeff, you as a historian, I know that you're very familiar with Juneteenth. What is Juneteenth?
I am. Well, so basically what Juneteenth is it's when the slaves in the South and the South only were freed. So it's not a day. It's historically it's inaccurate because not all slaves were freed during the state. I understand, it's when it's actually a Texas holiday. It's when word got back to Texas because they were still fighting because obviously they didn't have phones in the Civil War. But Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation only freed the slaves in the southern states.
So what you're saying is, while the holiday is recognized as the day slavery ended, it's not really the day slavery ended, is what you're saying.
No, because you had border states in the Union who still practiced slavery up until the amendment was ratified in the Constitution.
Okay. So Trump's plan, is it too little or too late to convince Black voters to support him? The president's speech at the Black Voices for Trump rally in Atlanta comes as part of a late push to gain more traction with Black voters. It was also notable for the location where he made it. Georgia, which has historically been a solid Republican state in presidential elections, is an unexpected battleground in 2020, with some polls showing the contest too close to call. Atlanta is also the city where Trump announced Black Voices for Trump last fall. So Trump's proposed plan, which purports to be built on 4 pillars of opportunity, security, prosperity, and fairness, calls for a range of measures in support of the Black businesses and families. Included in the plan is a call for almost $500 billion of capital investment in the Black community, with much of it coming from increased federal contracting opportunities and other investments. He also called for 500,000 new Black businesses and 3 million jobs for Black Americans. So I don't know how Donald Trump can call for 500,000 new businesses. That seems...
Yeah, I mean, economically, when a president says, they created so many jobs, I mean, realistically, that's not true. People created those jobs.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I mean, this bill sounds great, but it is pandering.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
100% pandering. The taxpayers are the one who has to pay for this. So me, you, everybody else, we have to pay for this. Okay. I do understand that they have limited opportunities and, we should do something like that. But I mean, we already have progressive policies in a lot of these places. And quite frankly, they don't work either. People don't want to put business there, not people who live there, not people who don't live there. It's just for reasons that are unspeakable. They don't want to put business there. So you can try to throw money to create opportunities. Maybe it works, but I just don't see how it works.
So I've been thinking about this, and you're basically seeing the two different sides and how they go about courting the Black Americans. So you have one side that wants to increase dependence by providing more forms of welfare, more money in that sense. Then you have the other side of the aisle that tries to promote independence through opportunity.
Right.
And as you just mentioned, we've seen that the progressive policies create dependence, but they don't create opportunity.
They don't. I mean, they're supposed to create opportunity, but they don't.
No.
Now, granted, if as a white male, if we're talking, if the reparation talk is coming into play, I'd much rather create opportunities than cut checks.
I agreed. And so the whole counter argument to that is throwing money at problems has never fixed anything. And our government is the perfect example of that.
Look at the VA. That's all we do is we just throw money at it like a Band-Aid and nothing gets fixed.
Agreed. And while we may not be the people who have to decide that, I mean, my opinion is you can't just throw money at a problem and expect it to go away. It's not how it
No.
works.
And I think, personally, I think Donald Trump's bowing down to the Democrats by doing this. I think he's pandering. As he's saying, look at me, I care too, which, he might. It's not for me to judge what's in his heart and what's not, because I don't know the man. But I mean, it's interesting, and especially because it comes at a time like this in an election year. I think it's pandering again. Juneteenth, make it a holiday, sure. I mean, that's fine. You could just say it's a cultural holiday, and I'll agree with that, sure. The $500 billion in opportunity, sure. There's definitely opportunity that needs to happen in low-income neighborhoods, cosmopolitanly. So,
makes sense. So Trump's plan also calls to increase the number of Black-owned contracting businesses, financial services entities, and private equity investment funds by means of regulatory reform, and up to $40 billion in government funding, as well as leveraging infrastructure funding to increase opportunity for Black businesses in federal contracting. Trump's proposal also references vague commitments for increases in Black employment and homeownership, offering very little details on both. In addition to the economic aspects of the plan, the president's plan proposes a range of other commitments to the Black community, including criminal justice reforms that include diversity training for police forces. In addition, the president is promising a national clemency program to unite families and invest in human potential, focusing on wrongful prosecution and rehabilitation.
It all sounds good.
So the plan also proposes prosecuting KKK and Antifa as terrorist organizations. Notably, the president's plan doesn't mention far-right and white nationalist organizations, which federal law officials have identified as key proponents of race-based hate in America.
I mean, the KKK is a white nationalist organization, but it's also important to remember the KKK has like 3,500 members nationwide, and they've been irrelevant for decades. As I said, it's virtue signaling. But I mean, there's a clear definition when it comes to terrorism, and you have to have some kind of government influence in there. But I'm fine with the KKK being labeled as a terrorist organization, and I'm definitely fine with Antifa being labeled as a terrorist organization.
Yeah, I agree. They should probably both be.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Probably should have been terrorist organizations a long time ago. But
I agree.
So the author also says the president's plan doesn't mention far-right and white nationalist organizations. Well, neither does this author.
Well, I'm saying, but like, there's so many like organizations. I mean, what are you just going to do, a blanket statement and say anything that we deem as white nationalists is a terrorist organization?
Yeah,
you can't do that.
Yeah, that's why
each individual group's its own entity.
Yeah, it just seems. I don't know that. I don't know what they're expecting the plan to say about that.
And like the diversity hiring thing, cool. At the end of the day, though, diversity training is good. I'm glad it's not diversity hiring, because diversity hiring is discrimination by nature. Just like with Ruth dying, okay, on the Supreme Court. Donald Trump's automatically going to select a brand new female Supreme Court justice. It's not based off who's best for the job. It's based off the person's gender, which is discrimination. But let's say he picked a white man, all hell would break loose, and you know that.
Oh yes. If he picked a white man, oh boy. Well, dude, it's already going to break loose. They're already attacking this poor woman because she's a Catholic. So they had a hearing, and they were saying that she speaks in dogma because she's a devout Catholic. I mean, they're going to attack her. It doesn't matter the fact that she's a woman. They're going after her.
And people are saying, well, the Republicans said, when Obama was president, they failed to nominate a new Supreme Court justice because it was an election year. There's still been over 20 of them done on election years, okay? And a president's duty to nominate a Supreme Court justice doesn't end because it's an election year.
No, it doesn't.
And so if the Senate confirms her, then that's literally their job in the Constitution. You can't just leave a government agency with a void in it to make it not work properly because it's an election year. That makes no sense.
Yeah, the whole argument, the whole election year argument is I don't really know what they're trying to get at or what they expect.
I mean,
It
the
doesn't.
Republicans shouldn't have did it. I mean, there was no reason for them to do it. They were just being petty. But I
Yeah.
mean, just because somebody did it once doesn't mean it has to be the new tradition.
No, and that's also to say that the Democrats would have did the same thing. If they had the power to block any of Trump's nominations, they would do that.
If the Democrats held the Senate right now, do you think that they would nominate his
Yeah.
no.
No.
And I mean, look at what they did with Brett Kavanaugh.
Mm-hmm.
They had people fabricate stories to try to get him not nominated. Like they tried, and they didn't even have control of the Senate. Then they had a woman who flat out said she lied.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have leaked footage of Miss Ford's lawyer saying it was because they didn't want Roe vs. Wade overturned. Kavanaugh's not even against Roe vs. Wade. I mean, the whole thing is just crazy.
They're just trying to rile up. They're just trying to rile up the voters. This is going to be a huge voter turnout because of this Supreme Court issue. But if Trump gets the nomination through, I mean, that's going to be detrimental to the Democrats.
And according to the news, the House, which obviously is Democrat controlled,
Mm-hmm.
are trying to craft a bill to limit the Senate's term. I mean, not the Senate, the Supreme Court's term, because Supreme Court serves for life, and they're trying to make it an 18-year term limit now. So I mean, like it's tit for tat right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy how Trump just brings out like this wildness. Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
Anything the Orange Man does,
no
bad.
I mean,
it's bad. Like even if it's good, it's bad.
Yeah, people are out of their minds because of this man.
But like the hypocrisy too. Like, well, he waited so long to craft this bill to help black people. Joe Biden's been in the government for like 20 years of its whole existence, and he's done nothing besides hurt black people. But now all of a sudden, he's the savior.
He's been a politician for 47 years.
47 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's done. What has he done? But he's going to end racism, Jeff.
He's going to end it. Yep.
He's finally going to do it. He's finally going to do it.
In 47, his 48th year, and that's the magic year right there, man.
After all these years, finally, it's going to be done.
That's it. It's so crazy. Like, it's literally like a show on the television, like a comedy.
It is. I love it. It's
like,
I'm Joe Biden, and I don't know where I am.
But I'm going to end racism.
But I'm going to remember that I'm going to end racism. I'm going to give you your health care. Donald Trump's going to take your health care. He's going to I had this argument the other day, and so I don't know if you've seen this Biden commercial, but he says how Trump is going to make it so that if you have a pre-existing condition, you can't have health care.
Mm-hmm.
And so
why didn't he do that in the past 4 years?
Right. But so the commercial doesn't specify what health care, right?
No.
Donald Trump can't do anything to your private health care. He has no power to do that. Zero.
No.
So what health care are they talking about? Are they talking about Obamacare, Medicare, Medicaid? They don't tell you. They just say he's going to make it so that you can't afford anything. And then everyone's like, we got to protect healthcare. What are we going to do? We got to vote for Joe Biden because Joe Biden's going to protect my healthcare.
Which is not a president's job.
Yeah, but people are riled up about that.
Yeah, I mean, you got people, saying that, since Ruth died, women are just going to have to go back to not having driver's license and making kitchens great again, apparently.
That's what they're saying.
That's
that's what's
crazy.
The world's going to end because they're just going to repeal all of these. Trump's going to repeal all these Supreme Court rulings, and women are going to.
He has that power.
Yeah, women are going to go back to not being able to vote.
That's it.
Yeah,
we'll make kitchen greats again.
I didn't know that the president could even do that.
Hey, you just taught me something. In all my years of studying Constitution and history, I just learned.
Yeah, I don't know what world we're living in, but apparently the president is just the supreme leader, and he can do anything.
He's literally a Nazi.
Yeah, he is just
literally a fascist.
He's a fascist Nazi dictator.
love the man, hate the man. It doesn't matter. Just basic understanding of governmental framework is important. Because
Well,
if not, you sound like a fucking idiot.
I don't think most people have any kind of limited understanding of the structure of government.
Not at the local level, not at the federal level.
No.
Nothing. No, it's crazy. But I mean, hey, if this helps him get reelected and he feels as such, and the taxpayers who are going to vote for him are okay with footing the bill, more power to him. In my opinion, I mean, I like some of it. You know, KKK, Antifa, terrorist organizations, great. You want to create opportunities? Sure. Just make sure you have a solid plan on how to do that, because everything else has failed.
Yeah, and I can get down with that. I mean,
Yeah,
Black-owned businesses help the Black community.
absolutely.
It's always been that way. It'll always be that way.
I mean, you got Black Wall Street from back in the day. I mean, you know, I got no issues. I mean, I hope that everybody in this country. I mean, I would love to see everybody in this country equal. It's not quite possible, in my opinion, because I mean, you know, we have classism and stuff, you know, which people kind of put on the back burner for some reason, and I think that that's a much more pressing issue. But hey, I hope it works. You know, I really do. I mean, I'm not going to hope everything that he comes out with fails just because he's orange. That's not what I'm in the business of doing. If Joe Biden wins presidency, good luck. I hope what you say is true. But if not, and if I were to bet, it's probably not going to be true.
No, it's definitely not true. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's a monetary competition, right, between everyone. And, you know, I think that there should be more Black-owned businesses to help the Black community. I'm all for that. That should be. It's in general, it should be easier to start a business. Doesn't matter what color you are. In general, there should be less regulations. There should be less obstacles to starting a business. Correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. And what's going to help a historically oppressed community more? Cutting them a one-time $7,000 check, or creating opportunity where they live to lift themselves out of poverty? Which one's better?
Why would it be a check for reparations you're talking about?
Yeah.
I've looked that up. It would be about $863,000 that they would get.
A person?
Yeah.
I don't know how we could foot that bill.
Well, obviously we couldn't.
I mean, we're like, what, $22 trillion in debt?
That would indebt generations.
For people who had nothing to do with the historical oppressions, correct?
Well, so the counter argument to that is we have benefited from a racist government being white people, that we have directly benefited.
Even if you live in Appalachia and you're dirt poor, you've benefited?
Well, the counter argument to that is they're not using their whiteness.
Oh, gotcha.
Now, and these are real conversations I've had.
Oh, I completely agree. I'm not saying I understand that. I've seen worse, you know. I went to college because I joined the Army, because that was the opportunity that I could get, you know. I mean,
yeah, I did the same thing. Yeah.
Don't think that was because you know what? Never mind. I'm just gonna sound
yeah.
You know?
You're beating a dead horse. You know, there's no logic involved. It's just ridiculous. Well, Jeff, that's our segment. Stay tuned. We're gonna be dropping some more here shortly.
Yep. Hit that subscribe button.